This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
Get yourself ready for a trip through McDonald land. There's thick-shaped volcanoes. You'll even find a French fry thatch. Now just turn around and see if you won't find a hamburger patch as you're heading for.
Order the McDonaldland meal today and get the Mount McDonaldland shake with your very own character souvenir kit.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Friday, August 15th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds. Today going to be less humid than it has been. The high 86. And then the weekend looks okay. Saturday, sunshine, high 84. That's probably the better day. And then Sunday, partly cloudy, hot, high 90. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 72 and clear in Hampton Bays out on Long Island. It's 74 and clear in Trenton over in New Jersey. And it's 73 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
There's been another Legionnaires death in Harlem. All eyes are on Anchorage and the big Trump-Putin sit-down. How much longer will neighbors in Haledon, New Jersey wait for water? A Bronx man is shocked to get his lost pup back. Oh, yeah, the Kool-Aid Challenge apparently is back. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. There has been a fourth Legionnaires death up in Harlem. Mayor Adams talking about how they're starting to clean out all of these cooling towers in central Harlem that have tested positive for the Legionella bacteria. He's promising that all those towers that have had issues will be remediated by today. He held a news conference yesterday, confirmed that 92 people have been diagnosed with the pneumonia-like disease the past 3 weeks. There's been 4 deaths. 15 New Yorkers are still in the hospital today.
I want to reassure everyone the air is safe to breathe and there is no risk to our drinking water or our water supply.
Now you can imagine people in this area of Harlem are a little freaked out. I don't blame them. Acting Health Commissioner Michelle Morse says that cases are declining and that Legionnaire's disease can be effectively treated if you get antibiotics right away.
The reason that we released those addresses was we've been hearing from community members that they want to know. And we also want to acknowledge, of course, that we are not holding information back.
Of course, the key here is getting that immediate care if you have flu-like symptoms like cough, fever, trouble breathing. In these 5 impacted zip codes in Harlem, the acting health commissioner says that the cases are declining because people are paying attention to those symptoms.
Legionnaire's disease can be effectively treated with antibiotics when it is diagnosed early.
Yeah, but public advocate Jamani Williams, he was up in Harlem yesterday saying, neighbors have a lot of questions and the city has to do a better job of answering them.
Because if you're out there, if I'm out there, I'm hearing these things, like, what is going on? I got family over here. What's really popping? And then you hear, like, there's more deaths, more buildings. It's owned by the city. Wait, let's pull back. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, so again, the key, the city health commissioner says if you're feeling like flu-like symptoms and you're in that area of central Harlem where there's been other cases, you should absolutely go to the doctor to get checked out because once you're on those antibiotics, you'll likely be okay. 5:03, down to lower Manhattan where NYPD cops, FBI evacuated 26 Federal Plaza after envelopes containing white powder were discovered there yesterday afternoon. Now, 26 Plaza, if you're not familiar with it, it's the New York headquarters of federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, Homeland Security, ICE. Police responded to the building, the same one that's used for an ICE processing center for detainees. This was about 4 o'clock yesterday.
We were notified of 5 letters containing an unknown white powder found in the mailroom of enforcement and removal operations here at 26 Federal Plaza. Our weapons of mass destruction and hazard evidence response teams immediately responded to the scene.
This is what we trained for. That's why today's event was under control and almost immediately without incident.
So the good news is nobody harmed here. Now, 2 people were initially exposed to the powders. The hazmat team immediately responded. The building evacuated as standard protocol. No threat remains.
And right now, no threat remains to any employees or the public at this time.
We train for incidents like this every day with the NYPD and with our federal counterparts. Everything worked flawlessly tonight. The testing is ongoing. We have no injuries to report. Our decontamination process worked perfectly.
Of course, now the question is, what is that powder? Was it dangerous? The FBI says the letters have been sent to a lab for additional testing to determine what substance was in the envelope, but at this point, they don't think it was anything. They think it was harmless, is what they think. 5:05 down to the Jersey Shore, where rip currents continue to be a big issue. Same battle, by the way, out on Long Island. The Jersey Shore rip current death this week in Seaside Heights has lifeguards and beachgoers on alert. It was a dad who was out with his 3 kids. After lifeguards were off duty at Seaside Heights, he went under. They tried to save him. He passed away. And so the warnings are out there that these rip currents should be taken seriously.
That's why I'm kind of scared to go in the water right now.
The riptide is extremely rough.
Now, the good part of this story is first responders saved 4 family members, but that 5th, the 31-year-old, passed away. The Seaside Heights police chief, he's Thomas Boyd. He was once a lifeguard, so he knows what it's like to get caught in one of these rip currents. And he's just saying, hey, you need to know what it's all about before you go in the ocean.
It only takes about 30 seconds to go into the water and get sucked out, where you're going to be in trouble. Be cognizant, be aware of your surroundings. If the red flags are out, go up to your ankles. Swim where the lifeguards are at.
Yeah, and the key is, swim when lifeguards are out. Don't swim after they're off duty, because lots of times if you get caught in those rip currents and the lifeguards are there, if you wave to them, they can absolutely come out and rescue. And by the way, we've been hearing about a ton of rescues just this week, but a ton of rescues all summer long down the Jersey Shore out on Long Island as well. 5:06. It's now a bit easier to take a load off for some Long Island commuters.
More seats are being unveiled at the Grand Central Madison station, bringing some relief to riders. 70 new seats now bring the grand total to just over 100 throughout the terminal. Notably, when the station first opened its doors to LIRR commuters in 2023, there were 0 seats. President Rob Free says even more seats are still coming.
More specifically, down here on the mezzanine level, where people want to be closer to the tracks so they can access their trains more quickly.
The railroad is also looking to beef up the amount of retail options in the station as well. I'm Liz Randabali for 77 WABC News.
5:08. President Trump says he won't share any possible deals he may have in mind when he meets with Russian President Putin in Alaska this afternoon. He says, though, this is all just a first step to making peace between Russia and Ukraine.
I think it's going to be a good meeting, but the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself.
Reports have been rampant regarding Russia-Ukraine land swaps, the possibility of the U.S. offering Russia a rare earth mineral deal if it leads to peace. The president would only say, we'll see what happens.
I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along. If we can get the war solved, we'll be very happy. As far as rare earth, that's very unimportant relative. I'm trying to save lives.
Yeah, so there are a lot of unknowns surrounding this summit with Vladimir Putin and President Trump. The president was asked about a joint press event. That had been announced earlier this week, that the two, Vladimir Putin and President Trump, would hold an event, a post-press conference after the sit-down. But apparently that's not 100% on.
Something like that will happen. Or if the meeting doesn't end well, I'll just have a press conference and head out. I'll head back to Washington.
That was the president talking to WABC's own Brian Kilmeade yesterday during the Brian Kilmeade Show.
If it's a bad meeting, I'm not calling anybody. I'm going home.
But if it's a good meeting, I'm going to call President Zelensky and the European leaders, who, as you know, I have a very good relationship with. I'm going to have a press conference. I don't know if it's going to be a joint. We haven't even discussed it. I think it might be nice to have a joint and then separates.
Now, he said to Brian yesterday that there's a 40% chance that this meeting is not going to go well. He said, I'm just being honest. So here's more from him.
Volodymyr Zelensky.
He says that he'll be in touch with European leaders once the meeting is over, of course, in touch with Ukraine as well. And you can imagine Ukrainian leader Zelensky's going to watch this thing very closely. Correspondent Rafe Sanchez has more on that part of the story.
Volodymyr Zelensky in London today, greeted here at Downing Street by the British Prime Minister ahead of that crucial summit between President Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska tomorrow. European leaders deeply concerned about what the president might agree to.
Zelensky was not invited to take part in the summit. And again, European leaders have been warning the president about making a full-on deal with Russia without including them and, of course, Ukraine.
Zelensky says they laid out a number of principles. One of them, that there should be no deal about Ukraine without Ukraine. Zelensky will not be in the room for that summit, but it will be his country's future that is being talked about. He also wants to see a ceasefire agreed to by Vladimir Putin before broader talks to end the war. Now, it isn't clear at this point if President Trump has agreed to that, but he did say it was a good call with the European leaders.
All right, so President Trump and President Putin, they'll meet at a military base in Anchorage. It'll take place around 3:30 our time, so awfully interesting. It'll be an interesting afternoon. 5:11, while we're talking about wars overseas, a Hamas delegation arriving in Cairo yesterday for talks with Egyptian mediators about a possible ceasefire in Gaza. Correspondent Matt Bradley has more.
So far, it doesn't look as though the Israelis have decided to join, though there are reports in the Israeli media that the head of the Mossad spy agency for Israel is now in Qatar, in Doha, speaking with government officials there, trying to talk about the possibility of returning to negotiations.
Israel and the U.S. both pulled out of those negotiations about 3 weeks ago. In the meantime, Hamas is claiming 200 people have died of malnutrition-related illnesses, but Israel disputes those numbers.
According to Israeli media, there is a Hamas delegation in Cairo right now speaking to Egyptian officials about the possibility of going back to some of these ceasefire negotiations that would see some of those remaining hostages released and some form of peace imposed on the Gaza Strip.
And back in Israel, the prime minister getting some pushback from Israelis who are getting tired of the war. Others are telling him to keep going.
We're seeing increasing anger and frustration here in Israel about Benjamin Netanyahu's proposed plans to expand operations in the Gaza Strip. This has been met by a lot of anger on all sides, but it looks as though Benjamin Netanyahu is considering continuing to push ahead with this. There's no sign that he's relenting.
WABC News Time 512. Let's bring it back home down to Texas, where that battle over redistricting continues. They can't meet. There's no quorum of lawmakers in Texas because Democrats are still gone, so they can't take a vote on redistricting. That is, more people weigh in on this battle, including one Republican Texas Congressman Kevin Kiley says no state should be gerrymandering.
Mid-decade redistricting this year cascade across the country in some sort of domino effect will be a huge distraction and a very unhealthy thing for representative government. It is a process by which politicians seek to gain more power for themselves. When we have fair districts, then voters are in charge of the direction of our country.
Of course, they've been watching this in California. Governor Gavin Newsom calling for a special election to redraw congressional districts in California. It's being met with Republican criticism in his state. State Senator Tony Strickland accuses Newsom of campaigning on taxpayers' dollars. He says the idea of mid-decade redistricting there is a bad idea.
First of all, two wrongs don't make a right. Where do we stop? So California responds to Texas, Florida responds to California, Illinois responds to Florida. And pretty soon we have the whole country doing redistricting every 2 years. That's not good for America and not good for California.
Newsom calling for a special election in November to let voters approve a partisan redrawing of the state's congressional map in an effort to secure 5 more Democrat seats in Congress. The move counter the Texas attempt to redistrict to add 5 more Republican seats in that state. The state Senator Strickland says all of this is just bad.
What Newsom would like to do is do a backroom, closed door, him and a couple of legislative leaders draw districts for California with political with politics in mind.
Yeah, and everybody getting involved, including former President Barack Obama, who is supporting those Texas Democrats who left this state to block the GOP redistricting plan.
Because of your actions, because of your courage, what you've seen is California responding, other states looking at what they can do to offset this mid-decade gerrymandering that is highly irregular.
He says he felt compelled to have a virtual meeting with those Democrats who left the state.
I think we became a little bit complacent over the years. We assumed that things would continue to get better. Our democracy would become more inclusive, that it would become more fair, that we'd make it easier for people to vote rather than harder for people to vote.
Now, that wasn't the only place where the president was, the former president was getting involved. He got involved in the race for mayor, and we'll get to that story in the second half hour here on the News Hour. At 5:15, though, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Starting on the diamond in Queens, the Mets continue their losing ways, falling 4-3 in a tight one to the Braves, dropping 2 of 3 games to Atlanta in the process and dropping yet another series. The Braves are 7-3 against the Mets this season. Mets have lost 13 of their last 15 games, and their lead over the idle Cincinnati Reds in the race for the final wild card spot in the NL shrunk to a half game. Francisco Lindor hit a third-inning solo homer. Brandon Nimmo with a sac fly, and Pete Alonso with a single had back-to-back RBI to give the Mets a 3-2 lead in the 6th. Starter Kodai Senga gave up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings of work. Lindor and Soto stole a base apiece as the Mets extended their streak of consecutive steals without being caught to a team record 36. Up next for the Mets, still 5 games back of Philadelphia for first place in the division. Sean Manaea will get the start in tonight's series opener of a 3-game weekend interleague series at home against the Seattle Mariners. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. As for the Yankees, they were off yesterday, but get set to open up a 3-game interleague set of their own in St. Louis. Luis Gil will get the start in what will be an 8:15 p.m. start against the Cardinals tonight. New York heads into the weekend still a game and a half back of Boston for second place in the AL East, and just a half game up on Cleveland for the third and final AL wildcard spot, following Cleveland's 9-4 victory over Miami last night. And we're looking ahead to tomorrow night, 7 p.m. kickoff at MetLife Stadium. The Jets and the Giants will get their head-to-head preseason matchup underway. Giants are, if anybody cares, 4-point preseason favorites there. Obviously,
wow, people will bet anything. You're going to bet a preseason game?
Yeah, people will, for sure.
I mean, I guess that's obvious, Noam, that people bet anything. But preseason just seems incredibly stupid.
Yeah, but this is a more fun one. You know, this is the Jets and Giants going head-to-head. They're obviously in different conferences, so they don't get the opportunity to do that much during the regular season. So you get this annual matchup between your two local squads in the preseason. It's fun for the local fans. So, yeah, you'll have a lot of degenerates tonight logging into their fan duels for sure.
It's a tough thing to bet because it's preseason. They're going to try out everything.
Of course.
They don't care if they win or not.
No, exactly. So in some cases, it's actually the most unpredictable.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it shakes out. But that's your Sports Gnome. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
National Guard troops are patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. this morning. President Trump says it's about restoring order.
Crime is rampant in D.C. It's rampant in our generally blue-run cities, and they've got to do something about it.
The Trump administration has expanded anti-crime patrols in the nation's capital, turning the effort now into a 24/7 operation. D.C.'s police chief also issued an executive order yesterday, letting officers alert ICE about illegal immigrants, including during traffic stops. The White House says that more than 100 arrests have been made since President Trump announced the federal takeover of the police department and the deployment of the National Guard this week. Now, not everybody in D.C. is happy about about this. Some Washingtonians unhappy that National Guard troops are in their city.
They are the goons of an openly fascist, openly violent regime.
One man who threw a sandwich at an officer, he's now facing felony charges. Other D.C. residents, though, who have lived in the city their whole entire lives, including this community activist, Leroy Thorpe, says the move by the president is long overdue.
Lovely. It's not about politics, man. It's about law and order. The city's not a law and order. The feds don't play around. The criminals know that.
Yes, there's a fair amount of support in D.C. to the actions by the president. 5:20. Well, we're talking about President Trump. He was out celebrating yesterday the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act. He touted his efforts to protect and improve the program.
In the campaign, I made a sacred pledge to our seniors that I would always protect Social Security, and under this administration, we're keeping that promise and strengthening Social Security for generations to come.
The president pointing to backlogs and long wait times at field offices on the phone. He says they've all been addressed. The president also highlighting his One Big Beautiful Bill Act that ended tax for seniors on Social Security.
So today we celebrate that 90th anniversary of one of the most significant pieces of legislation ever signed into law, the Social Security Act of 1935, and we're going to make it stronger, bigger and better. There's never been anything like it. The 4 years of Biden were very, very destructive. It couldn't have gone on much longer. Social Security was going to be destroyed.
The Social Security Act was signed by President Roosevelt. That was 1935. One poll finds President Trump reaching a new second-term low when it comes to the number of Americans who would describe him as honest.
A new Economist YouGov survey found that 31% of respondents would use the labels to describe Trump, compared to 33% who said the same in March. Polling also found around 53% of respondents called the president not honest and trustworthy, while another 16% said they were not sure. July's ratings comes as the Trump administration has been met with controversy around Jeffrey Epstein's case files, tariffs, and a recent jobs report. I'm Michael Kastner.
WABC News Time 522. The Knight Cancer Center in Portland, Oregon, they received yesterday a $2 billion donation from the founder of Nike, Phil Knight. Now, the Cancer Institute's named after him, and now he's going to donate another $2 billion with his wife, Penny. The announcement was made by one of the pioneering cancer treatment researchers who works at this institute.
It's my great honor and privilege to announce that Penny and Phil Knight are donating $2 billion to the Knight Cancer Institute.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. The money will create a new self-governed entity inside this center. The doctors or researchers say it'll change the way people receive cancer treatment. Each patient will now get a navigator who will guide them through treatment that include drugs and a clinical trial.
This fully integrated cancer care model will expand and accelerate diagnosis, will ensure that they have access to breakthrough clinical trials coming out of Knight research. Every patient will have access to a full range of much-needed support, resources for nutrition, mental health, insurance guidance, and symptom management.
Yeah, $2 billion, a lot of cash. 523 from Oregon. Let's go over to Southern California, where a school district there has become the first in the state to prohibit transgender athletes from taking part in girls' sports.
The Kern County Board of Education is committed to upholding fairness, safety, and equal opportunities for all student athletes.
That's the Kern County Education Board leader, Lori Cineros, in Bakersfield. She says the resolution was done to comply with the federal definition of Title IX, which protects female athletes from being disadvantaged. The vote this week was unanimous.
Ensuring that female athletes have equal opportunities to compete and excel in sports. Biological differences between male and female athletes can create inherent advantages in competitive sports.
Most other schools, California, is still following California rule, which lets men or transgendered women play on female sports teams, high school sports teams. 524. A book that was checked out of the San Antonio Library 82 years ago has finally been returned.
Every day, every day, every day.
It was sent through the mail from Oregon with a letter attached. It claims the book, titled Your Child, His Family, and Friends, was found by a couple who were sifting through their late father's belongings. They say his family checked it out before they were transferred to work at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. The letter ended with a joke hoping that there is no late fee. Good news, late fees were discontinued in 2021. I'm Michael Kastner.
525. This is National Immunization Awareness Month. The CDC says recommended vaccines for children have been around for years and have proven to be safe and effective with mild side effects and rare complications. So they're asking parents to have their kids roll up their sleeves.
They help to protect against diseases that have the potential to cause really serious illness, hospitalizations, and sometimes even lifelong disabilities or death.
That's Kimberly Giuliano. She's a pediatrician at the Cleveland Clinic, says she recognizes that there's a growing number of parents who remain hesitant to get their children vaccinated, but she says skipping shots not only puts their kids at risk, but endangers other children around them.
So when all of us get our immunizations, we're helping to protect those more vulnerable children that don't have the ability to get the vaccine themselves.
526, Arizona's drink founder, Arizona Drinks, suggesting that price increases may be on the way for those beloved drinks. They sell those big, gigantic cans of iced tea and lemonade and stuff like that for $1. I guess the prices are going up.
According to the company's founder, Don Voltaggio, the 99-cent price could be raised now that a 50% tariff on imported aluminum has taken effect. Voltaggio didn't specify what the new price point for its tall cans might be, but he promised to find savings wherever possible. I'm Brian Shook.
A Pope Leo-themed bus tour launched in Chicago yesterday.
Stops on the tour include his childhood home in Dolton, the former Mercy Hospital on Chicago's south side where he was born, and Holy Name Cathedral on the near north side where his parents were married in 1949. The 2.5-hour tour costs $65. I'm Monica Nelson.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Friday, August 15th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mix of sun and clouds. Today's going to be less humid, high 88. The weekend kind of a mixed bag. If you like heat, you'll like Sunday. Saturday, sunshine, the high going to be 84, and then hotter for Sunday, partly cloudy, high 90. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are, it's 72 and clear in Hampton Bays out on Long Island, 74 and clear in my hometown of Trenton over in New Jersey, and it's 73 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. We'll start this half hour over in Haledon, New Jersey, where it is now 7 days since people have had water. This all connected to that water main break last Friday in Paterson, New Jersey, which is the next town over. In Paterson, everybody has their water back, but in Haledon, they don't. And they're still trying to figure it out. Here, they had a meeting last night with Haledon Neighbors, the water authority, to talk about what was going on.
I spoke for 5 minutes without taking a breath, and I thought she hung up on me. And I was like, "Are you still there?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay," because we have no water in Haledon. And that was 2 days ago.
That's a woman who tried to get in touch with the water authority to say, hey, when's it coming back on? Each time they've had an update about fixing the water and getting service going again. They keep saying it's going to be 24 hours. They've said that since last Friday. Here we are at this Friday. But what they do say is this is an unusual situation, and the people who are running the show and trying to fix it say it's not been easy.
Rest assured, when this is over, we're going to make sure that this is a one-time event. This is an unprecedented event. I mean, we are truly in uncharted waters. Never has a system completely empty.
Now, the people who got it back in Paterson yesterday, they were, 6 days without water. Some 200,000 residents, this is nothing small, have been affected by this main that broke open last Friday. It was 140 years old, this pipe that was carrying water. And just to fix it, they're They're just trying to figure it out, and it hasn't been easy. But they said they're working on it.
You can come in and use our bathrooms, sit, eat.
Oh, so I should point out, this is a restaurant that finally got to reopen yesterday after being shut for 7 days because they had no water service.
You can come in and use our bathrooms, sit, eat. Our dishwasher, we're washing dishes, so we have our full menu.
And everybody's just trying to help each other out because there's just no water. So there's a salon in North Haledon that's been offering free hair washes until the water is restored. So anybody who wants to can come in to Flourish Salon and Spa and get their hair washed. Now, for somebody like me, it doesn't really matter because I'm bald, but if you got a full head of hair, this is a big deal.
So many people are affected that we needed to do something. Just even a hair wash could be so helpful. We're basically going through like 300 gallons in one day just to service people.
Yeah, they're doing it with, they don't have water. They're actually bringing in gallons of water to wash people's hair. I do remember when I had hair, having someone else wash it was pretty great.
There's just residents who haven't been able to take an actual shower.
Yeah.
Or I know that the North Haledon Police Department has that, but, you know, like sometimes it's just nice to go into a salon where you can have actual conversation, talk about these things.
Yeah, nice job done by that salon. But meanwhile, when we reached out to find out whether the water will be back on for those people in Haledon, we have not heard back, so that's not good news. This is a wild story. So the U.S. Coast Guard and the New York Fire Department were sent out Monday night to look for two people who had been jet skiing in the lower New York Bay who had gone missing. It was a man and woman who were riding jet skis when dusk came, and their friend who knew that they were out on the water called authorities to say they hadn't returned home. So apparently the ordeal began when the engine of their jet ski lost power and then it just overturned. Now the duo, the man and the woman, they tried to repair the jet ski, but then it got dark and the two of them started drifting apart. Now, here's the good news, is they were both wearing life vests. But the wild part of the story is they were in the water for at least 12 hours until authorities found them. When the two failed to follow what their float plan itinerary was, their friend was the one who alerted authorities to begin the search operation. The friend told the Coast Guard the two were headed to the Verrazano Bridge, so they started there.
One of the first things she did tell me was that she was in the water since 8:30 p.m. the night before. I couldn't even imagine.
That's a member of the FDNY who found this woman just floating in the water. She's okay. I mean, but the amazing part is that she was in there for a dozen hours. So it was around 5:40 a.m. Monday that someone saw the jet ski near Chapel Hill South Channel. And then around 7:30, firefighters from Marine Company 8 in Great Kills Harbor finally spotted a head bobbing in the water near the Romer Shoal Lighthouse. And as they got closer, that's when they found this woman. She was conscious and alert and really excited to see these people.
Over Channel 16, that's the primary means of communicating distress to the Coast Guard. They can attribute their success in this case to having life jackets on and filing a float plan with a friend.
Yeah, that was the key, is they let somebody know that they were going jet skiing. So when they didn't come back, they told authorities. Now, the one thing they didn't do is they had no means to radio for help. The man who was with this woman, he was found about 20 minutes later on Great Kills Beach in Staten Island, completely exhausted. He sat in the water, and they picked him up as well.
You hope that it's a good outcome, but starting off, it could be anywhere. They could be anywhere.
The two individuals were very fortunate, and we're very grateful for them to be alive.
Yeah, I can imagine a dozen hours in the water waiting for help. It did come, and both of them are A-OK, so we like the ending of that story. Over to Teaneck, where 3 people were injured there after being hit by a falling tree. The tree came down, at Sussex and Churchill Roads, striking and trapping two women who were just walking on the sidewalk who heard the crack of the tree but could not get out of the way in time.
We're just fortunate that it's the injuries are not as severe as we originally worried. That we're being told it's non-life-threatening, so that's good. But obviously, we're going to take the steps necessary to try and ensure the safety of the area by removing the tree in coordination with the homeowner.
That's somebody with the Teaneck Police Department. Crews had to use chainsaws actually yesterday to free these two women. A person across the street was also hit. They're okay. A car was also hit by this tree as well. There was a father and daughter inside. Thankfully, neither of them were harmed.
I don't know what to think. How could it happen? You're walking down the street and just the branch of the tree falling on you. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, authorities believe the tree fell because of natural causes, but the recent rain may have played a part. Lots of people who live in this neighborhood are calling on authorities in Teaneck to go around and start trimming some trees so something like this doesn't happen again. Hey, we want to tell you about a big event that we're throwing here at WABC. We're kicking off America's 250th birthday party with a big bash of our own. It's going to happen Friday, September 5th in Midtown Manhattan at Cipriani's 42nd Street. Now, if you want to get there, you want to be there, get tickets, you can go to WABCRadioFoundation.org. That's WABCRadioFoundation.org. Coming up on 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We'll start here on the diamond in Queens. The Mets continued their losing ways, falling 4-3 in a tight one to the Braves, dropping 2 of 3 games to Atlanta in the process and dropping yet another series. The Braves are 7-3 against the Mets this season, and the Mets have lost 13 of their last 15 games overall, and their lead over the idle Cincinnati Reds in the race for the final wildcard spot shrunk to a half game. Francisco Lindor hit a third-inning solo homer, and Brandon Nimmo with his sac fly and Pete Alonso with a single had back-to-back RBI to give the Mets a 3-2 lead in the 6th. Starter Kodai Senga gave up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings of work. Lindor and Soto stole a base apiece as the Mets extended their streak of consecutive steals without being caught to a team record 36. Up next for the Mets, still 5 games back of Philadelphia for first place in the division, Sean Manaea will get the start in tonight's series opener of a 3-game weekend interleague series at home against the Seattle Mariners. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. And as for the Yankees, they were off yesterday but get set to open up a 3-game interleague set of their own in St. Louis. Luis Gil will get the start in what will be an 8:15 p.m. start against the Cardinals tonight. New York heads into the weekend still a game and a half back of Boston for second place in the AL East and just a half game up on Cleveland for the third and final AL wildcard spot following Cleveland's 9-4 victory over Miami last night. And we're looking ahead to a 7 p.m. kickoff tomorrow night. The Jets and the Giants getting their annual preseason head-to-head matchup underway at MetLife Stadium. It's preseason week 2 action, and the Giants, for anybody wondering, are 4-point favorites heading into that contest. That is your sports.
You're not going to actually bet this,
I'm not. No.
You betting anything this weekend?
No.
Baseball?
No. Don't be crazy. I got to save all my money for week 1 of the NFL season.
Okay.
Because I'll be betting on every single game.
Did you make money last season or no?
No.
Okay.
I never make money.
Okay. Well, you're honest. Most people say, I'm up.
No, I'm not very good. So
maybe you should just stop then.
No, I can't do that.
Okay.
So, I'll just continue to burn money, whatever. It adds,
What's the site that you go to bet?
I use FanDuel. So there's an element of excitement.
Yeah. I kind of like FanDuel because there's all these different, crazy options you can do.
Right. You get all this excitement built up right before the just utter feeling of defeat, discouragement. And what am I doing with my life? That's your Sports Gnome. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
549. Let's go out to the campaign for mayor. Zohran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo have been exchanging words all week long. Andrew Cuomo says there's no reason Zohran Mamdani, who makes $142,000 a year as assemblyman, should be living in a rent-stabilized apartment in Queens. Zohran Mamdani says he began living there when he made $50,000 a year. Here was the governor talking about it again yesterday.
Do I believe a single individual making $142,000 who has other assets can afford a market rate unit? Yes. You're not rent burdened. His rent is $2,300 or something like that per month. You're not rent burdened. By definition, you're not rent burdened.
New York Times reporting yesterday that President Obama called Zohran Mamdani back in June when he won the primary, offering him advice about governing and discussing the importance of giving people hope in what he called a dark time. Mamdani was asked about this phone call yesterday, and he said, yeah, I talked to the former president.
It was a call that I was honored to receive. The contents of it were focused on the campaign that we ran, the importance of hope in our politics, and the ways in which we govern to deliver on that.
And then Mayor Adams, who was out with reporters yesterday, he was asked about this Obama phone call. Here's how he reacted.
People ask me about what national leaders are doing. It's about New York City residents. And so I'm focused on the city, and those are the ones I have to convince.
And Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa making news this week for changing his appearance. It's rare to see the founder of the Guardian Angels without his signature red beret on, but he took it off this week for a series of interviews on CNBC, the New York Times. He then was asked about it. Why did you take your red beret off after promising to keep it on during the entire campaign? And he told the New York Times, for some people, the beret is a defining issue. And he says, if taking my red beret off will help you listen to me, no problem. Sliwa believes that he's the only one at this point who can catch up to and beat Zohran Mamdani this fall. The 71-year-old also says he's the only candidate who isn't carrying around a ton of political liability right now. 5:52. Supporters of a Brooklyn high schooler are calling on ICE to release him after he was taken into custody last week following a routine immigration hearing. New York City public advocate Jamani Williams was among those who attended a rally for him in Lower Manhattan yesterday.
Can you imagine being Mukhtar in high school one day, going to court to do things the right way as a good person, quote unquote, would, and being abducted?
21-year-old Mamadou Maktour Diallo, a legal immigrant from West Africa, attends Brooklyn Frontiers High School. Had been in the city since last year without his family. Some lawmakers working with schools to ease parents' fears about sending their kids to class and are in contact with Diallo's family about legal support services.
I really don't know how we're going to start the school year not having Mukhtar with us, and with the fear of somebody else being abducted by ICE.
5:52, the New York City Council yesterday passing major legislation that would pave the way for 10,000 new homes in Midtown South to help with a huge demand for housing. Dan Gorodnick, the head of the Department of City Planning, says the Midtown South mixed-use rezoning plan includes 2,800 new affordable homes.
The largest neighborhood rezoning in decades. And it's also the first time we are using new high-density zoning districts that will allow even more housing.
The plan also includes a 34th Street car-free busway, a car-free corridor on part of Broadway, and investments for nearby schools and Bellevue Hospital.
The people who work here, this will be our town square with kids-first play districts, plazas, greenery, shared streets.
And when we talk about scarce housing, it's the case really all across the tri-state. Long Island's housing market has once again reached record highs. While home prices continue to soar, the number of sales have actually declined. Many potential buyers are finding themselves priced out of the market altogether. So these new numbers came out yesterday, and the median sale of a house in Nassau County was $860,000 last month. $702,000 in Suffolk County. Real estate agents say that this is a problem because people are priced out, and of course the high interest rates are not helping either.
From January, we're up 6% in Nassau in median prices and 4% in Suffolk. Some of the people that had stayed on the sidelines are now coming back, and then we have a whole host of new people. We have a lot of overseas buyers.
And everybody's looking ahead. All eyes are on the Fed, which is expected expected to make its decision on interest rates next month. People, of course, looking for new homes are hoping those numbers will go down. A Staten Island homeowner dealing with costly damage to his property, all thanks to what is part of this social media challenge. It started, this is like a year ago. It is the Kool-Aid Man Challenge. This is where kids run as fast as they can into a fence to break it open. Do you remember those commercials? The Kool-Aid Man, oh yeah, and he broke through walls.
Hey, Kool-Aid! Oh yeah!
Remember that? He'd break through a wall. Well, young kids, I guess, have seen these commercials, and so they're trying to do the same thing. And, of course, it's all about getting these videos on social media. But in the process, they're causing heartache for all these homeowners who have their fences ruined. There's one man, he's on Rathbun Avenue in Staten Island, and he said overnight on Monday, these kids went flying into his fence. And, yeah, they were filming the whole thing.
Monday night, I didn't sleep. I got sick because of that. So I saw like two kids were facing the fence and getting ready. So before I say something, they already jumped to the fence. And
the two teens were seen putting their cell phones on the ground, of course, so they could tape the whole thing, then busting through the fence. And now, he's got this costly fix that he has to make and wasn't expecting. This is not the first time this has happened in this neighborhood in Staten Island. Another homeowner, this was like late last year, had the same thing happen to him.
I was just in shock because, once again, these kids ran through the fence. They fled the scene. But, are the kids even okay?
Yeah, the kids are okay, and I guess they have these videos to talk about it. And, of course, if police catch up with them, they'll be in a lot of trouble.
We have to stop this. We should not be keeping quiet. They should stop doing it. All the homeowners, they should be speaking up.
The police say the so-called challenge may seem harmless, but the pranksters could get themselves a criminal record if they catch up to them. And how about if we end with a semi-happy story. A Bronx man. Do you remember that I told you about the story on Monday? This Bronx man was riding the subway with his puppy, and he fell asleep. And when he did, someone came up and stole the 2-year-old black and brown dog. Well, on Thursday, someone dropped off this dog at the 44th precinct in the Bronx, and detectives called the owner, Charles Williams, and they told him the good news. They said, "We found your dog," and he raced to the precinct to reunite with his pooch.
My anxiety was up. I suffer from depression, so I was very depressed, overwhelmed. I want to cry. I know God is real because I'm in a big city. And in a big city like New York, you may not find your dog.
Yeah, it is amazing. So the 45-year-old, I know people were giving him problems. They're saying, why are you bringing your dog on the subway? Well, he's homeless. And he said he was on the subway because he wanted some air conditioning for him and his dog on what was a brutal night. And he said the air conditioning lulled him to sleep, and that's when someone stole his dog.
He depends on me, I depend on him, and I feel like I let him down. And don't worry, it'll never happen again. Me and Rocket stayed out on the street, parks, staircases, rooftops over the past month because I can't get in the shelter with him because he's not officially a support dog.
Yes, so he says, so he lives on the streets, not in a shelter until they say it's A-OK to bring his dog in.
I think that shelters should lift their laws for dogs, especially when it's a nice dog, it's a good dog. He's not a violent dog, he's not a vicious dog, he's a very loving dog.
Yeah. Good thing that he was reunited with his buddy there.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was.
I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.